I got a student, 56 years old, loves the game of golf, took lessons from Butch Harmon, had the money and the time to learn from the best. And no matter how hard he worked, and he was dedicated, he'd hit balls 5-6 days a week, even though he was still working. No matter how hard he worked, though, he was always let down by his game. One day he came into me in the pro shop and he says, "Jimmy V, can you make sure I never come over the top again?" And I said, "Sure, Mark, it's not a problem. All you have to do is position your body in such a way that you'll never come over the top again." And he says, "Then I want you to teach me." And he abandoned trying to learn from Butch Harmon, and he abandoned, this man has got a beautiful library of golf instructional books that stacks taller than my height. And yet he abandoned all that because of the promise that he didn't have to deal with the frustrations that he had dealt with before. Well, I worked with him for 6 weeks. At the end of 6 weeks, he went from an 8 handicap to a 1 handicap. Just after he became a 1 handicap, he was able to qualify for the championship flight of the club championship at his country club. Now, not too long after that, he went down to the Titleist Performance Institute to get fit for clubs. And the founders of the Titleist Performance Institute were baffled because he was able to produce ball flight dynamics, which refer to spin, club head speed, ball speed, launch angle. He was producing ball flight dynamics that were as good or better than the tour pros. And it was this that caused the founders of the Institute to invite me down to explain to them what it was that I was teaching my students. The first thing that I said to them was, "Gentlemen, I'm coming in here with the point of view that the current paradigm is flawed. And I believe that it's flawed based upon 2 things. The pros, as good as they are, with all the dedication and time and effort that they put into it, are inconsistent. And secondly, the average golfer is not able to implement what the professional does. Otherwise, we would see average golfers on Saturdays and Sundays making swings that somewhat resembled what the pros do. But there is no resemblance between an amateur golfer swing and a professional golfer swing. If you watched rec league basketball players shoot a basketball, you're going to see a lot of the similar mechanics that you're going to see in a professional basketball player's game. Now, of course, they're not as fast, they're not as strong, they don't jump as high, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about mechanics. They use the same mechanics. But in golf, when you look at the average golfer, he doesn't swing anything like the pro. Well, that tells you one very distinct thing. It's not about you. You're not the flaw here. You're putting the time, the effort, and the money into the game. You practice. I know it because driving ranges are full of you trying to, with the greatest of intentions, figure out conventional theory. And yet, you still come up short. They tell you that you're the problem, that it's your mind, and that you need to focus better. I'm going to tell you right now that that's not the problem. The problem is the method. You're doing what they're telling you to do. It's just what they're telling you to do is wrong.